yes, we completed through Duryodhana describing the great warriors in his army, right? So we did that. Can I have any volunteers who can summarize this?
Oh, I'm in.
Sorry, can you raise your hand? Everyone has to be on mute. So I'll ask questions. Okay. Just to summarize. So what did Duryodhana do? First of all, Duryodhana, he showed his diplomacy in indirectly telling his guru, Dronacharya, that he did a mistake in teaching Drishtadyumna this science, military science. Though you knew that Drishtadyumna is going to kill you, right? So now you see how expertly he has arranged the army. Then he goes and talks about how how great the warriors are in the opposing army. After that, he goes and he wants to make sure that his own warriors, they don't feel dejected, they are inspired. So in order to cheer them up, well, he says, though their army has a lot of great warriors, well, our army is not any less. We have such and such great warriors. So he goes on describing them, and then he says, more than anything, we have Bhishma, who is one of the best warriors. He can single-handedly defeat the entire opposing army. So the way that we talked a little bit about the diplomacy that Duryodhana showed in how he addressed Bhishma, and after addressing Bhishma, how he addressed other warriors. Who can summarize that? So when he glorified Bhishma, yes. How did you think others felt? Who wants to answer this?
I think
Ria?
They felt
Go ahead.
me, Prabhuji.
Yeah, go ahead, Ria.
Yeah, so he was explaining that Bhishma is a very great warrior, but he was also saying that the other warriors, all the soldiers in my army, they're also very great fighters, and they can, like, when Bhishma Dev, he's battling with, maybe he's too very focused on battling another person, so then he might not pay attention to another person, so then the
Right.
warriors will protect him.
That's right. That's correct.
Instead of saying that he's just old, he'll say, oh, he's paying attention to somewhere else.
That's true. Thank you. Anyone else want to add anything to that? Sukirti, I saw your hand raised. Yeah, you want to say something? Sukriti. Yes.
So he also said that that Bhishma would be really focused on the opponent, that he wouldn't really pay attention to the people around him, so that Bhishma also wouldn't feel bad.
Yeah, so what he was saying, well, Bhishma, though he's a great warrior, so he's so focused in fighting, sometimes he's not aware of what's going on around him. And so it would make sense if someone, all of you, make sure that you give your protection to him from other sides where he might not be paying attention to, right? So, yeah, that's correct. Samarth, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, like, the other warriors, they kind of felt dejected because, like, I remember in the last class, like, we had an example of, like, a soccer game where, like, if you compliment the goalkeeper, the other, like, people on the team would not feel like they're doing, like, good and stuff. So, like, yeah, they felt, like, dejected, kind of.
Yeah, that's another example. This is a good example of how this is something you would apply in your own life or in all scenarios. So all of you, so one of the learnings here is, in your dealings with your classmates or friends, sometimes as a leader, maybe you're a leader of a sports team, or maybe you might be leading a group project, right? As a leader, your responsibility is to make sure that all the team members, they're all contributing towards the end goal, and they are feeling inspired, right? They are all feeling motivated. As a leader, you need to make sure that you treat everyone equally. It should not appear, even if you are treating everyone equally, it should appear also, both, right? Sometimes, in your mind, you're treating equally to everyone, but then it might not be apparent or obvious to others. And so you have to make sure that everyone feels that they are also getting an equal attention. And they all feel that, no, we are all recognized as important contributors to the success of the team or success of the project, right? So this is something that you can apply in your life. So that's one of the takeaways. Mm. So now, of course, in case of Duryodhan, he is evil-minded. So his diplomacy, is for nefarious reasons. Mm. So we don't have to be evil-minded, but even when we do something sincerely, the same skills can be applied where you want to make sure that one is paying attention to all the team members. Okay. So we'll move on to a new slide today. So this was summary of the previous slide from last night. And now, so war is about to begin. And how many of you have heard the term war cries? Anyone knows war cries? What does war cries means?
Yes.
Who is this?
I think war cries are like, my name is Rishikesh.
Yeah, Rishikesh, go ahead.
So I think war cries are like in the beginning of the war to say that they're starting the war from both sides and to say I think they both are ready.
Okay. So it's a signal of one is that it's signal of readiness. What else? What else are the war cries meant for? Anyone else wants to try?
For motivation.
Motivation, yes. What's another word that you could use? This is a very specific kind of motivation. When you're going on a war, what do you need? I mean, motivation, yeah. I mean, everything needs motivation, yeah. So you're right. I mean, war also needs motivation, but war needs a specific kind of energy, right? When you're going on a war, you
Is
need.
it intimidation?
What
This
is
is intimidation.
Intimidation, yeah, that's a good point. You want to intimidate the army, so that's what you call psyops or psychological operations, where you kind of create fear in the opposing army. That's one thing. And then anything else?
Fighting
Spirit.
Fighting spirit, yes. Sahana, you want to add to it? Sukriti, Sahana, go ahead first.
Courage. Courage.
Sorry.
Courage.
I can't hear. I can't hear the word. What's the word you're saying?
Courage.
Courage. Okay. Sukriti, what do you want to say? I see your hand raised. So
to feel more powerful, because when you kind of yell when you're going into battle, then you
yes,
kind of start to feel more powerful and confident
exactly.
about what
Yeah,
you're doing.
exactly. Yeah, we feel more passionate. War requires a lot of passion. You're going to go and hurt someone, right? So it invokes that passion. Ria?
You also need a noble purpose, like usually people who have dharma on their side, like Yudhishthira, they have a noble purpose for winning back their kingdom. So they have a reason to fight, not just like fighting for fighting's sake.
Yeah, so that is more about for what reason one is fighting, right? Whether it is for righteous reasons or somebody is evil-minded. But regardless of what reason one is fighting, when war begins, there's war cries on both sides, right? And these war cries are basically meant to invoke passion, and energy or agitation, intimidating the other army. All of that is all valid reasons, because you need, you cannot go in a war where you're kind of daggling around, you're feeling lazy, and you can, it's not like that, right? I mean, you need energy, right? It's a question of life and death. So yeah, so it's meant to invoke passion. So that's what happened. So what happened is, after Bhishma, so Duryodhana, he showed his diplomacy, and Bhishma is not, he's one of the Mahajans. That means one of the authorities on religion. He has seen the world. He is experienced. He's way more older than, is actually Duryodhana's grandfather, right? So he could easily sense that Duryodhana is being diplomatic. So you cannot fool Bhishma. And of course, Bhishma knows what Duryodhana wants from him. What Bhishma's heart was not there in the war, right? He was, his heart was attached to the Pandavas. Now he had taken an oath to support whoever is ruling, the king of Hastinapur, and so he was fighting on the behalf of the Kurus. But you know, he knew that Duryodhana, wanted him. He was relying on him, so just to give him pleasure, he blew his conch shell. And Bhagavad Gita specifically says his sounding of the conch shell appeared like roaring of a lion. So it was not really roaring of a lion, it was half-hearted. He was not giving his full energy, right? He was not like so excited to fight on behalf of Duryodhan, but just to give him pleasure, he sounded his conch shell very loudly, so that Duryodhan feels that now he's ready and he's giving that war cry, and he's so excited to fight, but it was a half-hearted attempt. So it was not, like there are two ways you can say it. You can say it sounded, his blowing of a conch was like like roaring of a lion, but that's not Bhagavad Gita says. Bhagavad Gita says his roaring of conch, his blowing of conch shell appeared as if it was roaring of a lion. So that means as if it's not exactly like it. There's something lacking, and that was basically he was not fully into it. And after him, all other warriors also blew their respective conch shells, and they were all accompanied by beating of drums, bugles, trumpets, horns, all different kind of loud instruments, and also the war cries, people shouting directly from their using their voice to create that uproar. And there is specifically mentioned that on the side of the Pandavas, they also blew their respective conch shells. So here are some names. I would recommend you memorize some of them at least. At least Krishna's conch. Everyone should know what's the name of Krishna's conch shell. Arjuna, Bhima. So Krishna's conch shell is called Panchajanya. And there is a story in Krishna book about how he acquired that conch shell. Of course, all this these conch shell punch.
Did I know that story?
Can everyone go on mute, please? So what I'll do is I'll give that, if you don't know that story, I'll give you that as a homework. I'll give you the link. You go and read it. We'll move on. I'm not going to spend time on that particular story because we'll try to be focused on the content of Bhagavad Gita. But one important point I would like to mention is, see all the paraphernalia that Krishna has, which to talk about either sword that he has, they all have name, they have a form, and they are all persons. Like Krishna's sword is known as, anyone knows what's the name of Krishna's sword? It's not mentioned here. It's known as Vidyadhar. Krishna's, he also has a mace. The name of Krishna's mace is Kaumudaki. Krishna has a bow. Anyone knows Krishna's bow's name?
Yeah, Prabhuji, is it like Sarang, you mean?
Saranga, yes. So Krishna's bow is known as Saranga.
And Prabhuji, I think there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita about the conch shells. I think it was 1.15.
Yeah, so that's what this verse is. It's talk about how everyone believes their conch shell. So Krishna believes his conch shell called Panchajanya. So Panchajanya is also a person. When it comes to Krishna's paraphernalia, it's not simply an object. They are persons who are assuming a particular form. In this case, the form of a conch shell, or sometimes the form, another personality who is a devotee of Krishna assumes the form of a sword, and in this way they are serving Krishna. So these are not ordinary objects. Arjuna's conch shell is known as Devadatta. Bhima's conch shell is Poundra. Yudhishthir's conch shell is Ananta Vijay. That means endless victory. Nakula's conch shell is called Sughosh, and Sahadev had a conch shell called Mani Pushpa. And blowing of all these different conch shells became uproarious. It was the sound was so tumultuous, it vibrated the sky and the earth. It was so loud, especially from the Pandava side was so loud that it shattered the hearts of sons of Dhritarashtra. On the other hand, Bhagavad Gita says that when the Kauravas blew their conch shells, beginning with Bhishma, whose blowing of conch shell was half-hearted, it did not create the same kind of fear in the heart of Pandavas. When the Pandavas blew the conch shells, the heart of Kauravas were shattered. So this ominous signs, what? Anyone can elaborate? What do you understand by ominous signs? Somebody has not answered yet.
Okay.
Partha.
Prabhu, I get. Oh, sure.
I'll give you a chance, Ayush. Let's start with Parth Mishra. Can you unmute yourself? Parth, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know what ominous signs means? Do you know the word omen?
What?
Omen, O-M-E-N.
No.
No, if it's okay, let's go to Ayush. Ayush, you wanted to explain?
Yeah, sure. So I'm assuming it's like like science. I mean, like science which happen to, like, how to explain it. It's basically like so I'm not sure how to explain it, but it's like signs that happen. Like how I heard that some animals or whatever started like yelling and
Yeah.
crying when Duryodhana was born. So like something
You
like that.
sense something. It's an indication. It's a symptom or a sign that you see or observe, and then it tells you, well, something's about to happen, right? It gives an indication of the outcome. Arush, I saw your hand raised. You want to add to that?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, it means basically something, it's giving that basically impression that something bad's about to happen.
Yeah. So omen could be good or bad, both. But you're right. It's an indication or an impression that
Basically.
tells what the outcome is.
Usually,
Yeah,
It's
go ahead.
usually auspicious, right?
Omens could be both good and bad.
But like the three bad omens, they're like the left eye twitches, the left eye, or something like that.
I think it's like if the left eye twitches for girls, it's good, but if it twitches for boys, it's bad.
yeah,
Right, so
I
go
think
ahead.
So there
it's
can
like
be
if
good
it's
and bad.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
like if
basically
it's like
the
some kind
sign.
of jackals howling and some
Yes.
animals in the forest making like noises and things that like give you the indication that are bad. Those are usually bad omens. And then this conch shell is actually a good omen for the Pandavas, but
A bad omen for Kauravas. So
yeah.
the same sign, which gives depends
Wait,
on what
who?
side you are.
Wait, but if Bhishma blew it, then doesn't that mean it's a good omen for the Kauravas because Bhishma is in the same side as the Kauravas?
Yeah, but yeah, it's a good question. Bhagavad Gita explains that his blowing of conch shell was half-hearted because he was really not favoring Duryodhana. He was fighting because that was his duty.
But I mean, if it was half-hearted, then that means it's not even an omen. It doesn't support anybody.
No,
Yeah,
the point
does.
is it's the comparison, right? So here, when the Pandavas blew the conch shell, it was so it shattered the hearts of Kauravas. That means the Kauravas were scared. But when the Kauravas blew the conch shells, the Pandavas did not have the same effect. They were not scared. They did not feel any fear. Like somebody mentioned earlier, intimidation.
Why did the
Meaning,
Kauravas feel fear, though? I'm confused.
because they were not so confident and Kauravas were confident. So all of that reflects, right? So first omen was Duryodhana looks at the army arranged by the Pandavas and he's taken aback by shock. Wow, look at that wonderful arrangement. The military arrangement, the formation, that's amazing. He just goes to his teacher and tells them, see, look at your foolishness, right? He tells them indirectly, right? So he's already intimidated just even before he spoke anything, right? Just by looking at the army.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes more sense. Thank you.
Right. So it has to do with, just like your body language. You go in a presentation, if you're fully prepared, the way you walk in front of the audience, way you open your laptop or whatever, and how you stand, and even before you speak, maybe your teacher or whoever's going to grade you can make out how that presentation is going to happen. And within, even if it's a 10-minute presentation, your teacher would grade you in first 2 minutes. It's already known. Or even before you start speaking, they know based on how your body language, how you stand. And similarly, if somebody is not well prepared, they're a little nervous, perspiring, their body language, face tells it, right? So these are all omens. You can make it out even before one begins to act. So here you see a picture of a conch-shell in a museum in Colombo, Sri Lanka, and you see how big that conch is. And not only that, it is encapsulated inside a very ornate casing, where this is the handle by which you can hold the conch, and it's a very nice floral carving over here, right, and wooden, and there's a casing over here, and this thing is huge. Sorry.
How big is it?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll give you as a homework. Why don't you do some research? Look at Colombo, search for Colombo conch shell. You can Google it up and tell me, come back with some information. But this thing is huge. So when we're talking about, it gives some idea, and about the kind of conches that Krishna, the Pandavas, the Kauravas, they had. It's not something small that you hold, and but it's like a real huge conch shell, and it's very ornate. They probably put it in a special box or a casing, and when take it out and hold and then blow it, these things are loud. And people at the time, these warriors must be really huge and mighty. I don't know how big, 8 feet, very sturdy, tall. So they're not ordinary beings. So I just wanted to give you some perspective of how majestic. Mahabharata is considered to be the greatest war ever fought. These are millions of soldiers and animals, and they fought together for 18 days. There's no such war ever fought in the past. Never will be any war like this that will be fought in future. Okay, so we'll move on to the next slide. There's not much beyond what we already discussed. Now, after the conches blow, Arjuna, what he does is, he's seated in his chariot. His chariot is bearing the flag of Hanuman. And he is, he's prepared to fight. He takes his bow out, is known as Gandiva. It's a very powerful bow, was gifted to him by Indra. And he's prepared to fight, but then he's looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra. And he tells Krishna, he says, please draw my chariot between the two armies, and I want to see who have assembled here. I want to see who is it that who is desiring to fight. Of course, he knows it's the Kauravas, but specifically who has come to help the Kauravas, right? And with whom I should fight. So he wanted to have a closer look. Of course, his heart is somewhere. There's something else going on in his mind. Of course, everyone wants to look at who's on the other side. But Arjuna is asking his chariot to be drawn closer. So something else is going in his mind. And so he asks Krishna to draw his chariot. And he's saying, I want to see the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana. Let me see who has come to please him by fighting on his behalf. So here Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He's not an ordinary person. He's the supreme God himself. He has a form which is eternal, unlike our body, which dies at the time of death. He's not subject to death. His body is eternal in that sense. In our case, there is a difference between our body and the soul. In case of Krishna, he's just one person. There is no difference between his body and he himself. His body is all spirit. Our body is made up of 5 elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether. Krishna's body is also blissful. And it's all full of knowledge. Our knowledge is limited. I don't know what's going on in your mind. I don't know how many of you are enjoying the class, or how many of you are not liking the class. I have no idea. I don't know what's going on in your mind. But Krishna knows everything. He knows what each living entity is thinking at any given moment. He knows the past, present, future, and he's always happy. We are not always happy, right? We go through the cycles of moroseness, happiness. Even when we are happy, our happiness is mixed. That means there is some anxiety mixed in that. It's not pure happiness. Even while we are enjoying, in our mind, maybe it's a Sunday, you're having some fun. Maybe you don't have to study so much, but at the back of your mind, you might be thinking, oh, I have a homework that's pending. I have to do something next week, right? So that might be bothering you. So in this way, there are many ways we don't experience pure bliss. So Krishna is not like that. Now, Krishna, though he is a supreme God, he does not like to be worshipped as God. That is secondary. It's not important for him. What's important for him, to have a loving relationship with his devotees in such a way where his devotees don't look upon him as God, but either they look upon him as a friend or a child, as a friend, like Arjuna. He is oblivious to the fact that Krishna is God. For him, Krishna is his friend. And Krishna likes that more, because in friendship, there is an intimate relationship. The awe and reverence to a God, it is more formal. Just like, your father or mother might have a very important position in a company wherever they are working, right? A very senior role, maybe they are senior director, vice president, CEO, whatever, right? And they might get a lot of respect from their team members because you're holding an important position. But you don't look upon your parents based on the position, official position that they have worked. You have a special relationship with them as a children. You care more that he or she is your father or mother than the position that they have in the company. Same thing with Krishna. He does not care he does not enjoy or the respect that he gets as a god, but the relationship that he has with his devotees. So Arjuna was like that. So that's why he agreed to become a chariot driver of Arjuna. And it's like a chauffeur. So what do you think? Being a chauffeur is a menial or is a respectable role? Anyone?
What's a chauffeur?
Chauffeur is someone who drives a car. So you hire someone to drive a car for you, like driver, right? So there are people.
So what was the question?
So if you to be a chauffeur of someone, to drive a car for someone, is it a respectable position or a menial position?
Menial.
Role అదే కదా chauffeur role కదా
కాదు
Menial.
కాదు
So same thing here. Krishna, he agreed to as a friend. Now he did not think this is menial, but from an external perspective, this is menial. But because he wanted to serve his friend, he agreed to become a driver. And so being driver, there is so much commotion during a war. You cannot hear if Arjuna tells go left or right. So Arjuna would kick him. If he wants to go right, he would kick Krishna on the right side from the back, giving indication, go this. Or will kick Krishna on the left, go left. So who can imagine kicking God, right? But it's friendship. The relationship between Krishna and Arjuna is not so much about God and a devotee, but that of a friend. So that is the specialty of Krishna. Okay. Now, when he goes in the middle of the army, and then he sees all the friends and relatives who are present before him, and they all want to fight. Arjuna sees something, and then he experiences that his mouth is drying up, his body is quivering, shaking. And the mighty Gandiva bow, which was given by Indra, very powerful, that was slipping from his hand, very nervous. And his skin was burning. His hairs were standing on his body. He was feeling a lot of nervousness. Now, you think of Arjuna as one of the best warriors. He had fought hundreds of wars. He's not afraid of fighting with anyone. But something happened that made him nervous. So he's saying, he tells Krishna that, I'm not able to stand here any longer. My mind is all messed up. It's all reeling. And I don't see any good outcome from this war. I only see bad outcome. So in this way, he presents his dilemma to Krishna. And we'll find out in the subsequent slides what's going on in Arjuna's mind. So I'll give you an example, just like somebody, an expert surgeon, maybe a brain surgeon or a heart surgeon. And this surgeon is so expert, he has performed hundreds of surgeries, successful surgeries, complex cases, difficult cases. And there's no nervousness. But now this surgeon has to operate one's own child. Yeah. What do you think the surgeon would experience? Anyone wants to attempt? So when they are operating on any other patient, they are not so much nervous. They are confident. They come out and they perform successful surgery, but now they are not confident. Let's try. Who wants to answer? Dhriti. Dhriti, you want to unmute yourself? Attempt to answer this.
Yeah, I just think that they're more, scared that if something went wrong, then, it's their son that they're going to lose. If it's some random person, oh, well, it happened. So, yeah.
So they don't feel nervous because they are not emotionally connected to the patient. So Arjuna's situation is like that. He sees, we'll find out in subsequent verses, he sees his teacher, Dronacharya, that he loved so much. He sees his grandfather, Bhishma, who was very affectionate towards Pandavas and specifically Arjuna. So now he is emotionally connected. So now he is feeling nervousness. So that's what's happening. So this is an important verse. We'll spend more time over here. And I encourage you to make points. So this is the most important part of the first chapter from a lessons perspective. Why Arjuna did not want to fight. Now Arjuna is presenting his arguments to Krishna. Why he does not want to fight. So make notes. I'm going to ask question. So this is verses 36 through 46. Arjuna says to Krishna that, hey, I don't see any good from killing my own family members. Right? And the reason he says that, one thing is, well, anytime there is a victory, suppose, how many of you play sports?
Me.
Okay, Samarth, Arush. Now, Rishikesh, okay. So when you play a sport, right, and suppose you win a game or you win a tournament, and what do? You want to celebrate, right? So whom do you celebrate the tournament with?
Family and the teammates and.
Right. So, you want to celebrate your success with your friends and family. So here Arjuna is confident that he would win the war. But what he's seeing, well, this war is a war between family members. So he's saying, well, even if I win the war, with whom I will celebrate? The people that I care about will be all dead. Right? So that's his first reason that he doesn't want to fight. Another is sin will overcome. He's saying it would be sinful to kill your own family members, especially your teacher. Guru Hatya is a big sin, right? It's a great sin according to the dharma religion. Person who is giving you knowledge, person who brought you up, your parents, your grandparents, your teachers, they are worthy of respect. We are indebted to them. Arjuna says, I wouldn't even dare to speak up against them. What to speak about fighting and what to speak about killing them. So killing one's own guru, one's own family member is a great sin. So that's another reason he gives why he doesn't want to fight. And he uses a specific word. He says, even if they are aggressors, What does aggressor mean? Anyone knows? Arisha, you want to try answering?
The people who started the fight, the people who want to fight.
Okay. So one who is aggressive, right? That's
Yeah.
they are called
Like
aggressive.
basically, the Kauravas really want to fight, but Arjuna on the other hand doesn't really want to fight as much as they do.
Right.
They're basically the aggressors.
It's very true. And there are, yeah, go ahead, Ria.
Yeah, I think there's like 7 or I don't remember the exact number, but
6 kind of aggressors.
Yeah, 6 types of aggressors, and basically they were like the kind that kidnap women, set houses on fire, murdered people. Yeah,
Yes,
I don't
this is
remember
all
all
correct.
of them.
So, yeah, let's write down what are the 6 kind of aggressors. Let me see if I can find it. So one is poison giver. Okay, everyone write it down in your notes. Person who gives poison is one kind of aggressor. There are 6 kind of aggressors. So Kaurav, when they were children, they were, Duryodhana, Bhima, they were all very young. In the childhood, Duryodhana, what he tried to do, he invited Pandavas to a picnic. Then he poisoned Bhima's food, and then he dumped food
And they
inside
went
a river.
underwater to Naglo.
Yeah, that's right. So see, so you see, we'll show how Kauravas performed all the 6 kind of aggressions. The scriptures say that somebody who commits even one kind of aggression should be killed. And Kauravas, they committed all the 6 kind of aggressions. Still, Arjuna is saying that because they are our kinsmen, especially when they, we should not kill them. It says it will overcome sin by killing our family members. Is saying, though our family members, as Kauravas, are aggressors, and scriptures say that anyone who commits one of the 6 kind of aggressions should be all killed. They are subject to punishment, capital punishment. So Arjuna is exhibiting kindness. Then another is one who sets house on fire. So Duryodhana, he invited the Pandavas to stay in a wax palace at a place called Varnavat. And then because it's made of wax, immediately catches fire. Then he torched it. The third kind of aggression is attacking with deadly weapons. So which is what this war is about. So this war is going to begin.
What is the second?
The second is basically setting house on fire.
What? I didn't hear. It's very loud.
Setting
a house on fire. Burning a house.
Okay. Third one is attacking with deadly weapons. So the war is about to begin. And then, can everyone go on mute if you're not talking, please? So war is about to begin. They're about to attack Pandavas with deadly weapons. So they were the one who were bent upon having wars. Pandava did not want the war, right? Fourth is who plunders the wealth. That means you steal away someone's wealth. And that's what Kauravas did. There was a gambling match, and they cheated and they took away all the wealth of the Pandavas. That's the fourth one, to steal someone's wealth. That's the fourth kind of aggression. Fifth is encroaching others' land. So the Pandavas, they were rightful owner of the kingdom. And what did Kauravas do? They encroached it. And they said, I would not even give you a land which is big enough to pierce a needle, which is just a dot. He said, I won't even give you that much land. They said that, hey, we are Kshatriyas.
Wait, could you repeat that?
To take away someone's property or land. That's the fifth kind of encroachment. And that's what the Kauravas did. Right? So Pandavas wanted, hey, just give us 5 villages. As a Kshatriya, we need to rule, and we don't want a big kingdom. I just want to do my Kshatriya duty. I just want a small village. We have 5 brothers, just 5 villages. He said, I wouldn't need, what about 5 villages? Duryodhana said, I wouldn't even give you a piece of land where you can pierce a needle. So they were very evil. And the 6th one is to kidnap someone's wife. So Kauravas had disrobed Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus. So Kauravas had committed all the 6 kind of aggressors. They are definitely worthy of punishment. But here Arjuna is so kind, he's saying, well, because that's kinsman, one who kills one's kinsman, is a sinful activity. So these are some of the reasons he gave. But then he gives a very important reason. So these were mostly personal reasons that he gave. How can I enjoy? So there are three main reasons. First reason is, how can I enjoy kingdom when all my family members with whom I want to enjoy my celebrate victory, they will all be dead, right? So that's the first reason he gave. Second reason is that sin. There is a sin in killing your family members, and the third reason is social collapse. And what it means is that war in general is not good. It's not good for the society. Anyone wants to give some reasonings why do you think war is a bad idea? Ayush.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, they technically didn't steal Pandava's wealth because, well, they technically lost it in a.
Yeah, they lost it, but the Kauravas had cheated in that gambling match. They were
But
using.
then after they came back from the forest, the Kauravas still didn't give the land, even after they spent all that time in the forest and incognito.
Yeah, it was not given back to them. But even during the gambling match, it was not a fair gambling match, right? I mean, it was they were using a die. Shakuni, he had a special boon that whatever number he desires will show up on the die. So it was not an even game. So it was an indirect stealing. There was no way the Pandavas could have won. So, does it answer your question? Okay.
Actually, I
Yeah.
also wanted to say a reason why war is bad is there's always a lot of loss, and sometimes it might not even be a really good reason for it, but there's always a bunch of loss, like people who you love and everything.
Okay. That's a good reason. What else? I'll give you some chance to someone who has not spoken today. And Arisha, you want to share why you think war is not a good idea for the society? Arisha, are you there?
It just
Yeah.
causes like a lot of like chaos and then division in the society between like different people depending on which side they want to be on.
Wait, so where did the Kauravas kidnap someone's wife?
So in the gambling match, what happened was the Pandava's wife, Draupadi, right? She was dragged and insulted, and she was disrobed, right? So that's what was perpetuated against Draupadi. So that's another kind of aggression that was committed.
But but they didn't kidnap her then.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a way of saying, right? Kidnap in the sense that the idea is you forcefully, the essence of what it means is that you forcefully take away someone's wife, right? So that's what happened.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone want? Okay, I see Parth, you wanted to contribute something. Can you even think of something how it is not good for the society? Something beyond what everyone already shared. If you have something more to add, then please contribute. Otherwise, give chance to others. So let's start with Parth.
Yeah, you see, God made people, and people are fighting and they're destroying each other. So they're lowering their own population.
Okay.
Wars lower people's population.
Yeah. Okay. Anushka.
It's just it's not good for the society because it uses up a lot of resources, and it's just not much profit really comes out of it. It's basically just which kingdom is more powerful, and even after they win it, it's I feel like the losing kingdom, they wouldn't really live in that much peace with the territory and one
Okay, Rishikesh.
So didn't the Pandavas also commit a crime by what's called making Draupadi be in the gambling match without her permission?
Yeah, I mean that's a good question. So as a Kshatriya, one of the things you cannot go away from a challenge. So if somebody challenges, the duty of a Kshatriya is one has to uh, accept that challenge to the very end, right? And so the very end over here means that one would accept the challenge up until the sake of one's own life or the life of their own family members. So um, that's just the duty of Kshatriya, not that Yudhishthir was addicted to gambling or anything like that. So the two kind of challenges that could be thrown at a Kshatriya is that of a war, right? And also a gambling match is also a kind of a challenge. So the Kshatriyas, they were allowed to participate in that.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, so now let's look at some of the reasons that Arjuna presents. Why war is not good for the society. And war mostly, you see it's all men who are fighting. And the outcome of the war is very devastating. All the men, there's a lot of loss of life. So when the man dies, the women, they all become widows. And the children, they do not have the upbringing and the love of their father. And what happens is, many times, is after the war is over, right? It doesn't happen so much in the cultured society, but what happens is, especially when people are not cultured, after the war is lost, the winning army would go and riot and loot the citizens of the kingdom that they won. And a lot of women would be assaulted. And they would be exploited sexually also, right? So what happens is, many times these children are born outside of marriage. So it's not within the wedding. All the women, they're all widows, they have died. And now they have been taken undue advantage by the opposing army who has won. And so there is unwanted children outside of marriage. And because they are unwanted children, they are not trained. They are not raised in culture, right? Otherwise, see, children, when they are raised in a family, they are raised in proper culture of their varna, meanings, they are brahmanas, which are the teaching class, priest class, kshatriyas, who are the warrior class, vaishyas, who are the mercantile or the farmer class, and sudras, who are laborers. So their family traditions, they are taught everything, the culture, the manners, their occupational duty, everything is taught nicely, and they're raised nicely in culture. But when children are born out of wedlock, there's no father to take care of, they were not desired to begin with, then this tradition is lost. And when the tradition is lost, society cannot function. And one part of the tradition is also performing sacrifices, different kind of sacrifices, to fulfill obligation towards the demigods. Because see, we all depend on sunlight, we all depend on rain light, we depend on wind. So there are demigods who are in charge of all these potencies or powers in the universe. So by performing sacrifices, the demigods are pleased, and they always make sure that the enough bounties of the nature are available to us. So one of the reason is that, see, the sacrifices have stopped, and we are exploiting the natural resources of the earth without offering anything in return, offering in anything in sacrifice to demigods. That's why the nature reacts back as well, right? Global warming, so many other extreme weather events. So performance of one of these sacrifices is towards the forefathers who have departed. So the forefathers, also called pitris, that's a word over here. So the forefathers, they're residing in a particular kind of a heavenly planet called Pitri Loka. And they reside over there as long as there are oblations offered. The oblations means like offerings in sacrifice to the forefathers. They continue to enjoy there. So right now, if you maybe ask your parents, there's a Pitru Paksha. So right now, that every year, once in a year, there is a 15-day period, which is also called Shrad. I believe it's going on right now, or just got completed, where you offer those oblations to all the departed forefathers in your family. So our 1 year is like 1 day for them. It's a different time scale. So by offering these oblations, they will continue to live there as long as we. So we are offering daily for them. For us, it's once a year, but our 1 year is 1 day for them. So every day, when you offer these oblations, they continue to live there. And there was an animation movie called, was it Loco? Does anyone know what I'm talking about? It's, I think it was from Disney. And it's about it's a kind of Spanish culture movie. It's called The Day of the Dead.
I know.
Coco.
It's Coco.
What is it called?
Coco.
Yeah, Coco. So if you watch this movie, it's 2017 family. So in Spanish culture also they have an idea. So it's called what is called Diez Muertas, the Day of the Dead, Diez Muertas or something like that. What's the Spanish word? Day of the Dead.
Dia de los Muertos.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it also falls around the same time. So we just had, according to Hindu culture, we have just completed, or it's going on right now. So it's around October, and they also celebrate at the end of the October. So what they do is they go and remember all those family members who have passed away, and they have the same belief system. If those who have watched the movie, they know this, that as long as they continue remembering their loved ones, those loved ones will continue to inhabit that world and continue to enjoy that. But as soon as you stop remembering them, they will drop. So it's a similar idea. It's also celebrated around the same time. Yeah, that's called Pitris. Of course, in the movie they show all those residents in a very ghastly way, where all skeletons. But it's not like that. They have more refined and beautiful bodies in those places. But anyway, the idea is same. So Arjuna is fearing what will happen is these unwanted children, they don't have any connection to their forefathers, right? They probably don't even know who their father is, right? Because they were all unwanted children who were exploited. Their mothers were exploited by men. They probably don't even know who that is. So who is going to offer the oblations to the forefathers? And so the forefathers won't be happy, and they will curse their descendants. So that's one reason. But the main reason, even before that, is, well, there's also a good reason, but they don't see an immediate impact of it. But the immediate impact is there is no society, right? There is no culture, there is no protection, and so that's the reason Arjuna is not wanting to fight. Another thing is that when the culture is not there of occupational duties, then who is going to teach how to do farming, right? How to be a warrior, right? So all that culture is also lost. And this all, being a warrior or being a teacher or being a farmer or a laborer, these are important functions that or services that the society needs to operate. But if there is no one to teach, who is going to provide these services, right? So these are the reasons why Arjuna did not want to fight. So this is the end of the chapter, by the way. So 3 main reasons. What is the first reason? If you kill your own family members, then with whom will you celebrate victory? That's the first reason. Second reason is killing family members is sinful, especially killing one's grandfather or teacher. And the third is that the society will not function when all the men would be dead, the women and children won't be protected, and the family tradition would be lost. Those are sub reasons within the third reason, which is the collapse of the society. Any questions? Any?
It's 7.
Yeah, I know it is 7. It's just 1 minute over. The class is over. I just want to take a moment. If you want to drop off, that's all right. But those who have a question, I can take a question and then we'll conclude the class if anyone has. Okay, no questions. So your homework for chapter 1 is, make a note of learnings that you got from this chapter and how will you apply in your life. One, especially we talked about diplomacy. And then maybe you want to write about how a society functions, especially society in a Vedic culture, which is what this last slide talks about. What are the important duties that different classes provide, and then what happens if all the men or the warriors they die. And we have one verse which is recommended to memorize, and I already shared on the group the 108 important verses. So you can memorize this first verse of Bhagavad Gita. So try to memorize that. And I gave some other corollary homework, like somebody was asking about the conch-shell in Colombo. So you can find more information. Please bring it to the class next time. You can share it with your friends. I don't know if I said anything else, but that's pretty much it.
Does the conch-shell really exist in Columbus or whatever you're talking
Yeah,
about?
that museum in Colombo, the conch-shell is still there. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, you can look it up. Google, you'll find it. Just type conch-shell Colombo Museum and you'll find some links. So I don't know how big it is, but you can try to find out and share with the class. Okay. Any other final questions or comments before we drop? Thank you, everybody. We'll continue. We'll start with chapter 2 next time. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.